Everything you can conceive of is all within your own wonderful human imagination. And all that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your own wonderful human imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. The whole vast world, you are within me. I am within you. The whole vast world is within your own wonderful human imagination. Now what do you do with it? How do you construct it? How do you simply rearrange the structure within you? Well, that will determine what you will encounter in this world. But it is an art. And like all art, you simply have to make every effort to discover how to practice it wisely. For this great secret of imagining is the greatest of all secrets that man could ever put his finger upon. Now here, let us take a few simple approaches to it. Suppose I wanted a better job, and I didn't have, as the world would tell me, which only reflects my own doubt, that I am not qualified. Well, they can't tell me anything other than what I'm telling myself. So if I am in doubt, they will tell me that I am not qualified, can't get it, or times are not right for it, or things are difficult. Let me ignore for the moment what my reflection conveys. And then let me ask myself, what do I want? Because this is only telling me what I have done in the past. What do I want now? When I know exactly what I want, let me dare to assume that I am now the man that I want to be, and walk in the assumption that I am that man. If I dare to persist in that assumption, then the outer world will rearrange itself and reflect that within me that I have fixed, and it will become in the eyes of the world a fact. What we call the fact. The reality really is in my imagination and not in its actuality. The whole vast world seems so real, and we think that's where the reality is, in its actuality. It's not there. It's in the imaginal act. And then we project it upon the screen of space. Now there are numberless facets to this wonderful principle. Here I am looking now at this room, and we're all real within this room. And yet my home is far more real to me than this room. I come there twice a week for 1 hour, and I live in my home almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's far more real to me than this room. This is used by many people, and my home is used only by my little family, my wife and myself. Yet at this moment, it simply is a flat picture, and this is a cubic reality. Why is this the cubic reality that I know so little about, and that I know so much about is only a flat surface? Because I am in this room now. If I am in the room, I give reality to the room. That when I leave it 1 hour from now, it also is a flat surface. I go home, enter my room, enter my home, and it is a cubic reality. Now here is the secret. Man is all imagination, and God is man, and exists in us and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God himself. The all imagination, I must be wherever I am in imagination. I am not anchored to this little body that I am wearing. I am wearing this body as I wear the suit of clothes. The day will come, the suit of clothes, I will wear it out and discard. I will wear out this little body and discard it. But my immortal self is my own wonderful human imagination. And I am not confined to the garment that I am wearing that it may be seen in the world. I can sit down in a chair and assume that I am elsewhere. And if I dare to assume that I am elsewhere, I make it real and give it all the tones of reality. I am where I am assuming that I am. How would I know that I am there? Or think of the world, that's all I do. If I dare to assume that now, this very moment, I am in New York City, how do I know that I am there? To say that I am all imagination, and I must be wherever I am in imagination. Well, how do I know that I'm really there? Well, let me think of the world. Do I see Los Angeles around me? Am I standing on it, or that I am not in New York City? If I don't see Los Angeles 3,000 miles to the west of it, I am not in New York City. For were I in New York City, I would have to see Los Angeles 3,000 miles to the west of it. For motion can be detected only by a change of position relative to objects. Well, now, if I feel that I've actually moved, well, then let me actually see it in my imagination relative to the former state. I do the same thing concerning going up in the social world, or the financial world, or the intellectual world. Today, my friends know me as a certain person. Suppose I desire to transcend that person. Would they know me the day I transcend it, or in the not distant future after I transcend it? They would, if they're my friend. We're in contact. I would be the same friend, but they would see me differently. Now let them see me differently. I dare to assume that I am now the man that I want to be. Whether it be a financial gain, or social gain, or any other kind of gain. My friends would know it, or they'd let them see it. All in my imagination. I rearrange the structure of the mind, and I fix it. And I fix it by sleeping in that assumption as though it were true. Well then, in time, if this principle is true, that all things must bring forth after their kind, I'm planting a new seed. That is the seed spoken of in Scripture. I must not deceive myself, because God in me, which is my own imagination, is not mocked. If I dare to assume that I am the man, that at the moment of the assumption, reason is denying, and my senses deny, but I dare to assume and persist in that assumption, well then, if this principle is true, that all things come forth after their kind, then I shall produce the fruit of that seed. I have done it a number of times. I tell you, I'm speaking to you from experience. I do it not only for myself, I do it for my friends. I call you friends. There is no charge to it, not one penny. Simply a friend would say to me, here's good news for me. Well, it takes us a little time, practically no time, to hear good news for a friend. I take his request, and then, to the best of my ability, I lift it to the state of being, so that I can actually feel him or hear him tell me that things are as he desired them to be when he spoke to me. Well, I call you friends. You You come here and you listen to the things that I have experienced concerning God's law and God's promise. To whom should you turn if you can't make it work for yourself? But the one who is telling you. I never tire of hearing good news for people. So I can actually hear that you are what you want to be, or that things are as you desire them to be. It costs nothing. It costs you not a nickel. And as far as time goes, that's what my time is for. As the revelation came, you must stop spending your thoughts, your time, and your money. Everything in life must be an investment. So I must invest my time. You'll sit down and hear that you're telling me good things about yourself. That is a wise investment of my time. Now, how am I doing it? I'm doing it with my thought. That's a wise investment of my thought. It is now symbolized in the earthly gain called money. There's no money transacted between us, interchange between us, but the money is the symbol of gain or security in this world. So I'll take the thought. You voiced it. You said, let me hear, or you hear for me that I am this, that, or the other. Then I simply sit quietly. It doesn't take me long. It shouldn't take anyone more than a matter of seconds to actually bring before your mind's eye the individual who has asked something of you. And you simply work yourself to a certain state of intensity. And it doesn't take time. When it doesn't time, I mean long time. I would say the maximum time would be, say, 10, not more than 10 seconds. To bring someone before your mind's eye and hear his voice clearly and feel the thrill that what he wanted, he had. And then you drop it. You don't do it again. That is an actual creative act. At that moment, you planted a seed. Where? In your own wonderful imagination. You rearranged the structure of your mind and you planted that seed. Now, do you believe in God? Well, then, if you believe in God, you believe in your own wonderful human imagination. You believe all things are possible to God? Well, then believe that all things are possible to your own wonderful human imagination. And that imaginal act will now externalize itself in the world, and she or he or they will bear witness to the truth of what you have done. That is God's law. Now, the vision has its own appointed hour. It ripens and it will flower. If it seems long to the one who asked it of you, don't be concerned. Don't let him disturb you. You simply wait. For it is sure and it will not be late.
Now, as you're seated here, that's all about you. Your own wonderful human imagination is the God of the universe. That is the one spoken of as the Lord Jesus. That's the one. Is it really true? Well, you're called upon to test it. Test it and see if it's true. Now, I have a letter on me tonight. I really should read it, but I'm not going to. I should read it just as he wrote it, but I'll tell you the contents of the letter. This gentleman hasn't been here in years. The last time I saw him was at the Ebell. Well, you know who've been coming since the Ebell how long that has been. He that I must tell you this story. It may not make sense, but I must tell it. For it's the first time that I have ever used my training.
My old friend taught me that lesson vividly back in 1933. There was a deep depression in this land. Many of you are too young to remember it, but I am almost now 67. I went through the deep depression back in New York City. I was a dancer, and who would pay a dancer when they couldn't eat? All the theaters were closed. I don't think more than 3 theaters out of 50 were open in Times Square. So who wanted to dance? I would have danced for anything, for a meal. And no one wanted to pay a dancer. So what would I do? I wanted to go to my little island called Baden. And I had no money. But I when I said no money, I mean no money. Not just a little bit, but none. I said to my friend Abdullah, I would love to go to Barbados. He said to me, you are in Barbados. I said, I am in Barbados? He said, yes, you are now in Barbados. I didn't quite understand what he was telling me. I learned it afterwards. He was telling me that if I want something, I must now, at that moment that I want it, assume that I have it. I want to go to Barbados, I am in Barbados. So this night when I sleep in Barbados. Now, in my imagination, and how do I know I'm there? Think of New York City where physically I'm sleeping. And see it to my north, 2,000 miles, northwest of where I am in Barbados. Well, the months went by and I didn't see any evidence. I said to him, you know, Ab, if I don't make the next boat out, or no planes were flying, no commercial planes were flying in those days, I can't go to Barbados. He said to me, who said you are going to Barbados? Or in Barbados? Can't discuss how you're going to Barbados when you are already in Barbados. Then he walked straight to his room and slammed the door in my face, which was not an invitation to follow him. You knew him. That's how he taught me. I am asleep as though I am in Barbados. When I went to bed, though in New York City, I had assumed that I am actually in Barbados and see New York City not under me, but to the north of me, 2,000 miles. And I woke within 48 hours after that moment, and under my door was a letter from my brother Victor. And in that letter, he enclosed a small little grant, $50, that I have told the steamship company, the Furnace Whitney Company, to issue you a ticket and charge it to me. The $50 is simply if you want some little thing, like a suit of clothes. In those days you could buy a suit for $12, a fairly decent suit. You could buy a pair of shoes for $3.50 or $4. But he said the $50 just anything you may need to get aboard the ship. But sign the chits, I'll meet the ship and pay all expenses, and I will pay all the tips. So it's not for tips aboard the ship. I went down to the place and I told them what my letter said. I read my letter to them. They said, Mr. Goddard, we only have steerage from now on. But when we get to St. Thomas, the Virgin Islands, you may have first class because someone is embarked in St. Thomas. I accepted. I went back to my friend Abdullah and I told him, and it worked. I'm going on the 6th of December, but I have to go steerage until we hit St. Thomas, and then we go first class to Baden. You know what he said to me? He said, who is talking of going to Barbados? You have gone to Barbados when you went first class. Well, what party would do with a man like that? I went straight to the boat on the morning of the 6th, expected I would go steerage to the Virgin Islands. When the man said to me, Mr. Goddard, we have a nice surprise for you. We had a cancellation, and so now you're going first class. He wasn't surprised. I wouldn't even call him to tell him, because he was not given that way. He was trying to teach me a lesson. You believe in God, believe in me also. But the one speaking is God. It's the God in you, your own wonderful human imagination. If you say, I believe in God, everyone here believes in God, but do you believe in your own wonderful human imagination as God? If the word God conveys the sense of an existing something outside of you, you have the wrong God. Because you are the temple of the living God, and the Spirit of God dwells in you. Well, if He's in me, find out who He is, where He is. But I have found Him to be my own wonderful human imagination. That's the God in me. It's the God in you. And may I tell you, He cannot fail. He will not fail. But here on this level, we are the operant power when it comes to the law. When it comes to the promise, that is coming regardless of the life we live in this world. Whether I be rich or poor, be the judge or the one being judged, the murderer or the victim, regardless of what part I play in this world, the promise is not conditioned. It is unconditional. God promised to redeem Himself when He became man. So my fitness for the kingdom of God is not the condition that I make myself good. It is the consequence, not the condition of His choice when He called me into the kingdom. So let no one frighten you that you're doing things that's going to stop you from entering the kingdom. It is not conditioned by anything you do in this world. The only condition is on the law. I can say that if I go in a certain direction, I will not encounter certain things. If I dare to assume that I am what I want to be, and I am faithful to that assumption, it will come to pass. If I am not faithful to it, it will not come to pass. If I don't assume that I am it, it will not come to pass. So I am the operant power when it comes to the law. But when it comes to the promise, that is coming regardless of what you do or where you are or anything in this world. Everyone will be redeemed. Everyone. But here when it comes to the law, spend all your time while you are here, because the other is working, is coming. So while you are here, take the law and try to understand it and try to apply it wisely. Why not live well? Why not live graciously? Why not be a kind person, a generous person in the world? Why not be a gentleman? Why not be a lady? These are tremendous accomplishments for man and for woman in this world. So I say to everyone, while you are here, find out what the law is all about. Because you can't deceive yourself, because the law will not allow you to. As you reap the things in this world, you may deny that you planted them, but it couldn't happen by accident. So be not deceived, God is not mocked. For as a man sows, so shall he reap. And he's reaping everything morning, noon, and night. I may not remember my sowing and deny the harvest that is mine, but it's there and I've got to accept it. Let me now try to remember, when did I plant it? Maybe I can't bring it back. We have very short and faulty memories, and I can't quite remember when I planted that seed. By the morning's paper, as you read these horrible stories, will tell you when you planted it. You do not know the character spoken of in the paper, yet you react. And that reaction was in itself the planting of the seed. You pass judgment on those that you read about. You read a gossip of the paper and you're passing judgment. And all of your imaginary reactions are planting seeds. Instead of spending your wonderful time on investing it by reading the Bible or reading a poem, read something that is altogether lovely, you spend our time on the paper or the radio bulletin or the TV, and all day long we're simply putting into our mind ideas that must come to harvest. And when they come, we deny that we planted them. But here, on this principle of the law, you can be what you want to be in this world. I don't care what the world will tell you. You can start from scratch. And if you dare to assume that you are wanted in this world, you will be wanted. I am not a member of any club in the land. And yet, here I'm an American citizen today by adoption. And yet, wonderful men and women in this land have never been allowed to enter certain clubs. I'm speaking of clubs I know well back in New York City. And yet, I, a stranger, have gone as an honored guest to almost every one of them. Because I never barred myself. It never occurred to me that I didn't have all the qualifications to enter as a guest. I have no desire to become a member. None. Yet I have gone to all of these clubs as a guest of those who were members. They came to my meeting and asked me for dinner, and they took me to the club, or asked me for some other purpose to go to the club. So not a thing in me allowed me to be barred, because I didn't bar myself. You can go any place in this world if you don't put these barriers on yourself. It's entirely up to you. God in you is your own wonderful being called your human imagination. In the 4 weeks that I'm gone, practice it morning, noon, and night. And long before the 4 weeks, you should show the fruit. I'm serious about it. You should bear the fruit of planting now. Not everything takes a month. Not everything takes a year to grow. Some things come up overnight. And you can plant it now, this very moment, by daring to believe that you are what at the moment reason denies and your senses deny. And actually feeling, give it the tones of reality. And then drop it. You don't pick it up tomorrow morning and see if it's growing. You accept it. And in its own good time, it comes to fruition in your will. That is the law. The first man is of the earth, a man of dust. The second is from heaven. So here we are in this world, and this is the world of this dual state within every child born of woman. And so we have the physical man, the man of dust, and then we have the spiritual man, the man of imagination. That is the immortal man. When I see this picture of the duality of man and how all things are created by this hidden man, I forgive everything in this world that the physical man does. For the physical man is only a state. One being is playing all the parts. The part played by the thief is the same being playing the part of the judge who judges the thief. The part who is the murderer and the murdered, these are parts, but the being within is one. Now let me explain it first in the beginning with a simple story. About 8 years ago, I was in New York for a month. And two of my brothers, Victor and Lawrence, came up and spent 2 weeks with me in New York City.